The night swallowed Eleanor whole. One moment she was there. The next, she was gone. No trace, no footprints, no proof she had ever existed. Clara tried to remember, but the memories unraveled like a frayed thread. The files were corrupted. The texts were missing. The world itself was forgetting Eleanor. The house wasn't just killing people, it was erasing them. But a single clue remained, a place hidden in the Holloway records, a place where the forgotten sought refuge or were trapped forever. The glowing mark on the ground pulsed weakly before vanishing completely. Clara knelt, running her fingers over the cold dirt where Eleanor had disappeared. The motel parking lot was empty, the night unnaturally still. No footprints, no sound except her own ragged breathing. It was as if Eleanor had never existed. The air felt wrong, thicker, heavier. A sudden wave of dizziness hit Clara, and she clutched the side of the car for balance. Something had changed, something had been taken. But by what? The house? Or something worse? Back in the motel room, Clara flipped through her notes, scanning for any mention of Eleanor. Pages had been ripped from her journal, entire sections missing. Had she done this? Had someone else? She tried to recall their last conversation, but the details were hazy, like a dream slipping away after waking. Her laptop was open, but the files she'd saved on Holloway House were corrupted. Pictures wouldn't load. Documents had turned to unreadable gibberish. She tried to check her phone for messages from Eleanor. Nothing. No calls, no texts, no proof they had ever spoken. Clara's hands trembled. This wasn't just about Eleanor disappearing. The world itself was forgetting her. Panic surged through Clara as she dialed every contact she had. Reporters, historians, paranormal researchers. One by one they answered, and one by one, they all said the same thing. They had never heard of Eleanor Holloway. Clara's stomach twisted. Even the professor who had introduced them claimed he had no memory of her. She scoured old emails, only to find threads missing replies, like conversations had been held with a ghost. The realization struck her like ice water. The house wasn't just killing people, it was erasing them. Eleanor was slipping into nothingness, and if Clara wasn't careful, she would be next. Buried deep in her scattered notes, Clara found a single lead, a place mentioned in the Holloway House records that had somehow never caught her attention before. St. Mark's Church. It had once been a refuge for victims of the house, a place where those haunted by its darkness sought shelter. Now abandoned for decades, it stood just beyond the town limits. Clara drove through the winding back roads, her headlights cutting through thick fog. When she arrived, the sight sent a shiver down her spine. The church was crumbling, its steeple crooked, windows broken. The heavy wooden doors hung ajar, as if someone, or something, was waiting for her to step inside. The air inside was thick with dust, the smell of rotting wood and old candle wax clinging to the walls. The pews stood in eerie silence, empty yet expectant. The feeling of being watched crawled along Clara's skin. Somewhere deep within the church, something stirred, a faint whisper, like the hushed prayers of forgotten souls. As she moved forward, her footsteps echoed unnaturally, the sound stretching too long, as if bouncing off unseen walls. At the front of the church, above the altar, a massive mural caught her eye. It was unlike any religious painting she had ever seen. The mural depicted Holloway House, but not as she had seen it before. Its walls pulsed, its windows warped like gaping mouths. Shadows spilled from the foundation, curling into the shapes of people, trapped, screaming. At the center of it all stood a lone figure, reaching desperately toward the swirling darkness. Clara stepped closer, her breath hitching. The figure's face was smeared, blurred, just like the Holloway family in the photograph she had found. But there was one detail that hadn't faded. A small mark on the figure's wrist. Eleanor's mark.